Hokage, the civilian Genjutsu master who can read minds. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 21, Dragonfly Class, Hokage Office. These are good seedlings. Do you have the confidence to train them into talents? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked when he saw Fey Bamboo Dragonfly put away the information. I must. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly affirmed. At the same time, it can be seen from this sentence that this generation of disciples is really lacking in talent. Thinking about the graduates of his class, Kai, Kakashi, Obito, Shiran Sazama, Genma, Kurenai, Asuma, etc., there are too many who will become jonin in the future. This year, Iruka is considered outstanding. It is undeniable that his teaching ability was excellent later on, but as he is currently a student, he is really not good enough to be rated as excellent. Well, go ahead, the students can't wait any longer. Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Yes. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly exits the Hokage office. Sir Hokage, Dragonfly is a bit younger as a team leader, isn't he? Asked the secretary next to him. Sarutobi Hiruzen, you can be a chunin only if you have the ability to lead a team. This is the rule of Konoha. He is a jonin now. Don't question yourself. Yes. The secretary heard this. Ninja school. I wonder who will be our teacher. Shinobu Mibu looked forward to the next teammates. With his head covered and his young age, he is a bit sneaky. It would be great if I could have Lord Men Yen as my captain. The thorny iron wire fiddled with the shuriken, spinning it around in his hand. Mido Kaden is Konoha's master of ninja tools. He has always been the object of his admiration and has always hoped to learn more powerful tool manipulation techniques from him. Mido Monitis, Iruka, on the other hand, was quiet, looking ahead, as if in a daze. If Dad hadn't died, he should have led the team, right? Just when he was lost in thought, it wasn't until two teammates poked him that he came back to his senses. As long as I can learn something. Iruka smiled. After being comforted by third generation, he no longer fell into a sad mood. He has been studying hard for more than a year and has a new dream, which is to become a teacher who teaches and educates people. But before that, he had to learn more ninja knowledge and seriously devote himself to ninja work instead of just teaching theory. If you have not experienced the road of ninja, you will definitely not be able to teach students well, third generation said. Ta-ta. Hearing the footsteps, the three of them immediately looked expectantly at the classroom door. Who could it be? A young man wearing a ninja vest, with his hands in his pockets, his head completely wrapped in a bandage, and a Konoha forehead protector tied to his eyes. Yumano Iruka, Thorny Iron Wire, Mibu Shinobi. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, spoke. Arrive. The three of them spoke in unison when they heard their name. I am your captain, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. I will serve as your captain until Master Hokage gives other orders. Are you ready to become a ninja? It's done. Very good, we will gather at the 98th training ground tomorrow morning. Don't eat too much. The captain will treat you to a delicious meal. Now, disperse and go back to rest. There won't be that much rest time starting tomorrow. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly gave the order. Bang. After saying that, he formed a seal with his hands and disappeared in front of them in an instant. It's amazing, it suddenly disappeared. Mibu Shinobu praised. Thorny Iron Wire, is it some kind of teleportation technique? No, this is the Shadow Clone technique, a difficult ninjutsu that only jonin can learn. Iruka analyzed. Hey, is jonin actually leading the team? Mibu said excitedly. I don't know if you have noticed, but our captain seems to be very young. Thorny Iron Line said. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly's face was wrapped with a bandage, leaving only his chin and nose, so it was hard for him to judge. I'll find out tomorrow if I ask. Konoha Street. I'm going to be the captain before I know it. I'm working in the analysis class, but I haven't personally led a serious team once. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly stretched. Considering that I will start leading the team tomorrow, I'd better go back and prepare. He didn't have the same interest as third generation and Kakashi in trying to steal the bell. He was only prepared to test the three's true abilities and then consider how to teach them. After all, he is the captain, so he needs to show some strength so that the three children can have basic trust in him. Speaking of which, that guy Ebisu is really talented. He has only been a chunin for half a month, and his teaching ability has improved rapidly. When talking about teaching, we have to talk about future elite teachers. I recently became a teacher at a ninja school and seem to be doing well. Looking at these future backbones of Konoha, it feels like a little bit of growth, which seems pretty good. Unknowingly, he walked up to Ichiraka Ramen again. A rose woven with brown leaves appeared in his hand, and he immediately walked in with a sunny smile on his face. Calamus, look what brother brought you again, roses woven by his own hands. But he was embarrassed when he walked in. because two pairs of eyes turned to look at him. Yoshi, you are so young. Dragonfly has found true love. Kai gave him a thumbs up and bared his teeth with a dazzling light. Kakashi, amazing. Akaris, who was busy behind him, also chuckled when he saw the scene. Then he took the rose from him and placed it on the vase decorated next to it, with other woven flowers on it, lifelike. Haha, why are you two here? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly asked when he saw the two of them. Now Kai is a special jonin, and Kakashi is a jonin. In this relatively difficult period for Konoha, he still has some free time. Kai pointed at Kakashi. Kakashi has just returned from completing a mission in the Land of Snow. He happened to be hungry and completed the mission. Let's have a meal together. Kakashi nodded. The Land of Snow is so far away. I heard that it is covered with snow and ice all year round and is very beautiful. Have you brought back some souvenirs? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly heard about Snow Country, and it seems that the plot in the theatrical version is also there, but I don't know if Naruto will go to Snow Country again. There is Ninja World Chakra technology there. I wonder if Kakashi has gotten some back. The names there have changed, and I almost died there. Not to mention the specialty, they almost turned me into a specialty. Kakashi was helpless. Oh, the country of snow is just a small country, but it can actually make you almost die? Don't underestimate any enemy. They have chakra amplifying devices, which can greatly enhance the strength of ninjas. Moreover, all of them can use ice escape. Snow ninjas are also very strong. Let's not talk about this anymore. What about you? Are you still working hard in the analysis class? Kakashi asked rhetorically. Don't mention it. I just received the mission. Starting tomorrow, I will be leading the team. They are still the baby class who just graduated from the ninja school. Feiju Dragonfly sat down, and then sucked and ate the ramen brought by Akaris. Haha, it's really impressive, but everyone is from the baby class, so I'm a little excited when I think about it. Kai laughed heartily. Don't talk nonsense, I'm not. Kakashi thought to himself. Episode 22, Test, Exercise Ground number 98. The morning sun shines on the ground. The three little Iroquois were bored at this time, waiting for the flying bamboo dragonfly to arrive. Is the captain going to be late? Mibu Shinobi muttered. Gulu. His stomach was growling, and he didn't even eat breakfast, because he was greedy for the feast in the captain's mouth. It should be arriving soon. No, what is that? Just as Thorny Iron Wire was about to say something, a huge noise came from the woods. Buzz. The three of them went out in search of sound, only to see that all the trees in the forest were bent. It seemed like some monster had broken in. Fuck, what a big monster. A two-story dragonfly appeared, flapping its four wings, allowing its body to move towards them nimbly. As if he saw them, the compound eyes on his forehead rolled. Whoosh. Arriving above them, the dragonfly struck them with its forelimbs. Buzz. Swish. Fortunately, they didn't react slowly and left the place instantly. Bang. The dragonfly made a big hole in the ground. How could there be such a monster in Konoha? Mibu Shinobi yelled. Cold sweat broke out. Be careful, this should be the psychic beast that the captain used to test our strength. Let's cooperate well and defeat it. Don't let the captain underestimate us. Iruka looked at the dragonfly's appearance and remembered the captain's name, and immediately with analysis. The Thorny Iron Wire also realized this the moment he saw the dragonfly, and when Iruka spoke, he opened a long scroll. Bang bang. With a flick of the scroll, the meteor-like shuriken kunai shot out and flew towards the giant beast. Clang. Facing these ninja tools, the giant dragonfly swings its 6 limbs to block the attacks. It's not over yet. The Thorny Iron Wire once again channeled a meteor hammer. Mibu Ninbu also reacted at this time and threw his shuriken. When the giant beast blocked the attack of his teammates, he wrapped the wire around it and entangled the 6 limbs of the giant beast. Shooting stars catch up with the moon. The huge meteor hammer took advantage of this and hit the giant beast, causing it to fly backwards and roll several times on the ground. Boom. On Iruka's side, there was no ambiguity, a great fireball also arrived. Successful. Looking at the giant beast hit by ninjutsu, the three of them laughed. Wrong. Suddenly, Iruka realized something was wrong. He took a closer look and saw that there was no giant beast, only broken figures. Half of the dragonfly was burnt, emitting black smoke, and was only the size of a palm. Careful. Bang. Just as he was analyzing, a pangolin emerged from the ground and flew Iruka out. Let him roll on the ground a few times. Ouch, although I don't know why the pangolin howls like a wolf, the 3 people from the Thorn Iron Line family are also very dignified. What is this ninjutsu? Iruka stood up and tried to analyze various situations. First of all, this is definitely not a psychic beast. Judging from the traces of the first giant beast, it is not a transformation technique either. Genjutsu won't be able to cause damage to the ground. He looked at the holes hammered out by the dragonfly's limbs and the holes made by the pangolin's earth style. What exactly is it? In the sky. Oh my, you cooperated well, you can actually defeat one of my dragonflies. Flying bamboo dragonfly sat on a giant eagle, watching the battle of the three people below with a smile on her lips. In terms of performance, the coordination ability is better than that of protagonists like Naruto and Sasuke. It seems that the three of them are also models of serious study in school. These giant beasts are all disposable ninja beasts, created by him using his secret technique, eye-pointing hand. Lose the supply of chakra and it will disappear. He has only developed 4 ninja beasts in this series so far. Dragonflies, pangolins, giant eagles, and a giant whale for underwater use. Boom. You can see every bit of the battle below. Flying bamboo dragonfly is very satisfied. When the 3 little ones below were humiliated by the pangolin, they released the ninjutsu on the pangolin and jumped down from the sky. The 3 little ones were panting. Eh? Why did it disappear? Thorny Iron Wire shook his head left and right to look for it. It seems like something fell from the sky. Mibu Shinobu pointed out a black spot in the sun, and the black spot slowly enlarged in their eyes. Not good. The 3 of them immediately dispersed. When they turned back, they found that there was no movement as they imagined. Only Feiju and Dragonfly looked at them with smiles. Well done, very capable. He praised his 3 subordinates very much. Thumbs up. Captain, you are so scary. I thought another big monster fell from the sky. Mibu Shinobu patted his chest. The 2 giant beasts just now frightened him, and he was afraid that another one would come. Irika, Captain, was that psychic magic just now? That's Genjutsu. Eh? Genjutsu? The 3 little ones were surprised, with disbelief on their faces. Genjutsu is not like this, and how did they win Genjutsu? Feiju Dragonfly took out a dragonfly figure, which looked like the giant beast just now, and said with a smile, I will teach you the first lesson, don't be fooled by the superficial phenomena of things. This Genjutsu is a type of real Genjutsu. When an intelligent life is hit, this Genjutsu will become real, which is the reason why it was able to cause damage to the terrain just now. In other words, the moment you see this dragonfly, it is a real giant beast, but we didn't see it just now, so the giant beast appeared? Irika said. But I saw it. Flying bamboo dragonfly pointed at herself. The 3 little ones also understood, good guy, you won Genjutsu, why do you want us to pay the bill? At the same time, his eyes were bright. The move just now was very cool. I wonder if they can learn it. Watching the flying bamboo dragonflies is very hot. Why are you looking at me like this? Do you want to learn? Yeah. The 3 of them nodded like chickens pecking at rice. This ninjutsu is very difficult. If you want to learn it, just work hard. I will teach you carefully. Feiju Dragonfly promised. But there is no guarantee whether he can learn it or not. After all, it took him more than a year to complete the 4 mature types. The difficulty of creation and the difficulty of learning are actually not very different. With the talent of the 3 little ones, he had no hope of learning it. Yeah. The 3 of them all started barking, seemingly not worried about the difficulty. Okay, now let us follow the tradition of Konoha and introduce ourselves first, then take a photo, and then take you to a feast. Flying bamboo dragonfly looked at their happy faces and smiled. I'll go first. I'm a thorn-type iron wire. My dream is to become the greatest ninja master in Konoha. I like to eat ramen. I am Yumino Irika. My dream is to teach and cultivate talents for Konoha. I also like to eat ramen. I am Shinobu Mibu, and my dream is to join the torture club. The person I admire is Marino Ahiki-senpai, and I like to eat barbecue. I am Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. My dream is to spend an ordinary life in the past. I will have 2 children with my wife, 1 boy and 1 girl, and then watch them grow up, have children, and then raise grandchildren. Click. Finally the 4 of them took a photo. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly stood behind him, touching the thorn wire and Irika's head with both hands, and Shinobu Mibu stood in the middle with his arms crossed. Episode 23, The Will of Fire, Num, Konoha. Akamichi Barbecue Restaurant. Click. The 3 little Irikas ate happily. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about money until my pocket is empty, Captain. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly also picked up a piece of barbecue, put it in his mouth, and started eating. It's so delicious. Captain, when are we going to take over the mission? Thorny Taisyan said while eating, looking forward to it. Irika, yes, I want to learn all the abilities of ninjas and teach them to my students in the future. Start right after eating. It's a very training task, very suitable for you genin who have just graduated. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly smiled. Hey, what kind of mission is it? Is it some great mission, such as catching enemy spies, defending the country or something? Mibu Shinobu asked in anticipation. No, those tasks are child's play. As soon as he said this, the three of them looked at him with burning eyes. Could it be a mission related to Konoha's life and death? That is a difficult task related to the survival of Konoha. It's actually true. Does the captain recognize them like this? Remembering that he just defeated a giant beast, would he recognize them like this? You'll know later. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly gave up. Hey, no, Captain, please tell me. Stop talking nonsense. If you want to know, eat quickly. After hearing Fei Bamboo Dragonfly's words, the three of them ate faster. Just as they were eating happily, a tall figure appeared, accompanied by a virtuous-looking woman. The woman held a big fat boy in her arms. Hey, isn't this a dragonfly? Are you going to lead a team on a mission? Seeing the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, the tall figure greeted him. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly turned back and said with a smile, yes, it's finally my turn to lead the team. Senior Dingsua, long time no see. Then he looked at the small figure held by the woman. Is this the Choji that Haiichi-senpai said is the same age as her daughter? Little Choji, who was fat, seemed to understand what Flying Bamboo Dragonfly said, and turned to look at him, but after a while, his eyes moved to their barbecue. Yes, it's cute. Dingsua was very proud. At first glance, you can tell that you have inherited the excellent genes of your predecessors. In the future, you will definitely surpass your predecessors and become the pillar of the village. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly will also praise others. Hearing this, Swading laughed loudly. Of course, look at the bones of this body, it has the same demeanor as I did back then. By the way, I invited you to this meal. I want to eat it. Little Choji pointed at the meat on the grill. The hairs are about to flow out. Here, Uncle will give you something to eat. Call me Uncle. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly picked up a piece of barbecue and put it to Little Choji's mouth. Uncle. Hey, be good. Feiju Dragonfly smiled and put the barbecue into his mouth. The two Dingsua couples did not stop them. With their physiques in the ninja world, it is no problem to eat barbecue at this age. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly looked at Little Choji and saw him chewing roasted meat with a happy face and a smile on his face. The guy behind him has grown tremendously, and can use the Akamichi family's most powerful secret technique without the need for medicine. That is an achievement that no one in the Akamichi family has achieved in the past generations. The three little ones also said hello to Dingsua. Then Dingsua opened a table by himself, and the family started eating warmly. Okay, let's set off when we're full. The mission has started. Yes. The three little ones said excitedly. Konoha residential area. Farmland area. Three figures inserted the seedlings into the field little by little. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly held the book and looked at the field, showing an expression of sudden enlightenment from time to time. Mibu shouted, Captain Dragonfly, is the great task of planting rice in the fields? Of course, do ninjas need to eat? Will I starve to death if I don't eat? Farming can prevent thousands of ninjas from starving to death. Isn't it very great? Much greater than waging war against other villages, right? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly glanced at them and said after seeing that they were not lazy. But, it's really boring. Irika was dejected. Is this what ninjas are supposed to do? Thorny Iron Wire thought the same way. Is planting rice what a ninja should do? Ninjas have to endure the unbearable things. Even this is unbearable. How can I safely lead you to do more difficult tasks? Feiju Dragonfly said angrily. And did you really study well in school? As soon as these words came out, the three of them were not convinced. Captain, I'm a man with perfect scores in theory in school, so don't underestimate me. Irika was dissatisfied. In order to become a great educator, he studied hard. Theory and practice are different, and who says farming isn't what ninjas should do anymore? It's not just what a ninja should do, it's an important part. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly closed the book and said seriously. What's the use of this? Thorny Iron Wire retorted. The other two people also agreed. Apart from learning to endure, what's the use? Very good, then I will give you the first lesson. Listen carefully and don't be lazy. Yeah, tell me. The three of them all wanted to see how he made it up. They are all confident in their learning abilities. There is nothing in the book that is useful at all. First, the ninja's chakra requires the combination of physical and spiritual energy to refine the chakra. This task can accumulate spiritual energy for you. The three of them nodded in agreement, but did not agree because other tasks could also be accumulated. Second, ninja is a secretive profession. For espionage and intelligence collection, you need an identity to cover up. A farmer who can plant rice is a good identity. The three people despised that in the espionage class taught in the school, there was no option for farmers, because the identity of farmers was not useful for intelligence collection. Don't have access to much information. Third. And the third one? The three of them wanted to see what the captain would do. Others have done it, but you haven't done it. It will appear unsociable. This goes against our great concept of unity and friendship in Konoha. It is the beginning of destroying the unity of Konoha. It is a heresy, so you have to do it. Feiju Dragonfly saw that several people were quite knowledgeable, so he immediately changed the pretentious words he had thought of before, and pointed at the team next door who was also doing the rice transplanting task and said seriously. Damn it, Naruto and his team were easily fooled by Kakashi when they were watching anime, so why did he fail to do so? Irika suddenly realized, I see, this is the will of fire that Mr. Third Generation said. Is it to train our will of fire? He deserves to be the captain. To be the captain is indeed a conscious ninja, very good, then we can't be independent. Come on, in order to inherit the will of fire. Mibu Shinobu's rice planting hands were full of energy. Thorny Tieshien's eyes were also full of heat. Yoshi, watch my will planting technique. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was speechless. Did he feel like his brain was really useful? The idea I've been thinking about for a long time is not as good as Third Generation's ideological class. Episode 24, Deception, Konoha. This energy shouldn't last for a few days, and they will realize that the will of fire is false, right? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly stood on the roof, looking at the trio looking for cats. The three of them were ignited by the will of fire, but he could guarantee that if they did this kind of D-level mission for a few more days, they would become as impatient as Naruto and the others in the future. It's not that he doesn't want to do other more advanced tasks. Since the death of the fourth generation, the mission resources provided by other countries, including the Fire Nation, have indeed been declining. It has only been this year since the third generation came to power that things have eased a bit. There are not as many tasks as expected, and there are even fewer suitable for their new team. Well, just be serious and teach them more so that they don't get bored. As the captain, he can get 30% of the team's bonus for completing the mission, so he cannot let them stop. So when the three little ones got tired of it, he was going to give them some rewards and carry them away. Definitely not for the 30% bonus. But this job is so easy. As long as you supervise 3 people, you can make money just like collecting rent, hehe. And below. Damn it, where did that cat go? Rensheng opened a wooden barrel and looked inside. No. Hey, how could there be a cat there? Be serious. Irika was speechless when he saw him turning over the barrel. This time their mission was to find a cat belonging to a noble family. It was said that the cat had been accompanying the noble family for decades. They have been looking for it for a long time now, and only occasionally see its cat poop on the roof. He even doubted whether the cat existed. Hey, Captain, are you sure that cat exists? Irika shouted to the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly on the roof. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly pointed, you have to use your head. Where are the tracking skills you learned in school? Don't tell me you forgot them after you left school? What are you going to do if you can't even find a cat and do a more difficult task, when there are all shrewd and insidious ninjas out there? The captain's ridicule was really serious. The 3 of them were top students, how could they endure it? The 3 of them were not convinced, and then they racked their brains and took out all the knowledge from the ninja intelligence class. Just to slap the captain in the face. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly shook his head. I thought I was already looking forward to them during the test at the training ground. After all, judging from the combat situation, group combat was much better than Naruto's generation. Now it seems that in terms of ninjas, only combat is practical, and other more important things are far behind. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly took out a pen and paper from her bag and wrote these down. These are the strengths and weaknesses of the 3 people, as well as some thoughts on their cultivation. Now that I have become the leader of the team, of course I have to do my duty and not be as perfunctory in the training of Naruto and Sakura as Kakashi did. Even Sasuke, in his opinion, only taught Chidori a little bit, but he didn't even teach basic things until a few years later. So he has to learn a lesson. As an excellent worker, you should not let the leader realize that you are too good, but you should not be unknown, but should be mediocre. Afternoon. The 3 finally found the cat, relying on Irika's knowledge reserves, the cat's habits, and the information told by the cat's owner to complete the tracking. But he was also disgraced. But they were happy. Standing in front of Feiju Dragonfly, she stood up straight and waited for his praise. Well. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly suddenly sighed. He wanted to encourage them, instill memories in them, and let them imitate them, but he finally held back. Not everyone has the ability to process memory. For ordinary people, it is just a burden. Only what you learn through hard work and time is your own. Iruka and the other three looked at him sighing, and the smiles on their faces suddenly disappeared. Captain, did we do too badly? Iruka looked at the sun in the sky and thought of what he had done today, feeling embarrassed. It does seem a bit bad. The other two people were the same and wanted to praise them. No, well done. The flying bamboo dragonfly did not attack them. Real? This made the three of them even worse. They were top students. When they came to their senses, they still had some sense of analyzing whether they were good or not. Of course, this cat-finding task, although it was really bad at the beginning, I gradually applied the knowledge taught in school and it was very good. Mibu Shinobu's keen perception, Iruka's intelligence analysis, and Iron Wire's powerful action ability are all very good. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly gave a thumbs up. But his words couldn't make the three of them happy, and they were still a little frustrated. What's wrong? But it took us so long to realize it, isn't it too bad? Why do you say that? As the captain said, it takes so long to find a cat. If we look for those cunning enemy village ninjas, how can we possibly find it? Snap. The flying bamboo dragonfly patted their heads. You brats, it's just your first day of mission. Why do you want to fly? Do you know Kakashi, the copy ninja? You mean that Kakashi-senpai who graduated early at the age of 6? San Xiaoji asked. Flying bamboo dragonfly, yes, that's him. When he just graduated, he did the same thing as you. The eyes of the three of them lit up. Is this really the case? And he also looked for a cat. He spent most of the day there. What does that mean? It means he is similar to you. The eyes of the three of them brightened even more. And there's still one thing he can't do compared to you. Fei Bamboo Dragonfly paused here. In fact, he didn't know if Kakashi had done it before, but it didn't stop him from bragging, and recognizing lies was a necessary part of being a ninja. There were excuses if they were exposed, so he had to continue to brag. Iruka asked hurriedly, where? The Will of Fire, why did it take him so long to find it? It's just because he has no team spirit and doesn't look down on the abilities of his teammates at all. He found it all by himself. Therefore, his Will of Fire is not as good as yours, much worse. Remember, you are best when you work with your peers. Wow. When they heard that Kakashi-senpai, who had become Jonin, was inferior to them in the Will of Fire, the eyes of the three of them suddenly ignited with fighting spirit. It was as if the frustration just now had disappeared. Then Captain, how do you know so much? Thorny Ironline asked curiously. Because he and I are classmates, so I know more. Fei Zukinging said. Hey, how old are you, Captain? Renshing suddenly asked. The other two people also reacted and looked at the flying bamboo dragonfly carefully, looking up and down. Before, they felt that the captain was quite old. After all, he was tall and slender, and his dream of introducing himself made them forget to ask. Now they became suspicious. Haha, I'm 2.5 years older than you. Eh? Don't you want to call me brother? Be serious, please call me Captain. Captain, did you do these tasks just after graduation? No, the captain is much better than Kakashi. I joined the Third War battlefield as soon as I graduated and made great contributions within half a year. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly raised its index finger and shook it. It's amazing. The eyes of the three people showed admiration. Episode 25, Customized Training Plan, Konoha Ichiraku Ramen. Dragonfly, I heard that you have started to lead the team. Is there any danger? Shouta asked, holding a bowl of noodles. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly Ramen, I'm just leading a small team, it's not an S mission, it's not difficult. Shota nodded when he heard the words. Is it okay if you don't follow the team? Hey, these are some physical D-level tasks. With Shadow Clone watching over them, that's enough. Flying Bamboo and Dragonfly said it didn't matter. I want to see Iris today, what's wrong with using Shadow Clone, do they dare to have any objections? Akaris chuckled from behind, Brother Dragonfly, isn't this bad? I think other ninjas should lead the team well. Haha, I am also very serious. I have done all the tasks assigned to me by the village clearly, and no one can tell me what the problem is. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly sucked and swallowed ramen. He didn't lie, he still focused a lot on the team members. After all, this was his main job now. However, those three guys, almost half a month later, are still as active as ever. Even if they are facing small D-level tasks, as long as they say something related to the Will of Fire, they will be like a chicken. Simply outrageous. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have had to think of so many ideas to seduce them to complete the task. He would just have to talk about the Will of Fire. In order to work safely and steadily, he has studied this aspect thoroughly. After half a month of training on small tasks, The three of them had finally consolidated what they had learned in school. He once watched anime, and he didn't know why Konoha asked graduates to start with D-level tasks. It was clear that they had chakra, and their abilities were much more advantageous than ordinary people. Now that I have become a captain and think about it and experience it, I understand. These small tasks can train the ninja's patience, will, tracking, analysis, and other comprehensive abilities. It is the first time to apply the knowledge taught in school. Just like what he thought on the battlefield for the first time, the most important thing for a ninja is not the learning of ninjutsu, but the intelligence, analysis, and other abilities. To do this, it is very basic knowledge to use mathematics similar to parabolic motion in combat. Without these, it will be difficult for you to hit your opponent when throwing shurikens and kunai. Hey, Akaris, let's discuss when to get married. I want to have 2 big fat boys with you. When the time comes, I want to train them to be stronger than the god of ninja. The thought just now was just for a moment. After the flying bamboo dragonfly shook off, he said something important to Calamus. Whoosh! Calamus's hand that was working stopped, and his whole face instantly turned red and warm. The red face was really cute. What did you say? Her mouth trembled. Let's discuss marriage. Shandai's eyes narrowed. No, you are still young, it will take another 2 years. Of course I know we are still young, so we want to discuss this so that I can be prepared. Feiju Dragonfly scratched his head. He still wants to do a better job in this regard, after all, this is his dream. A lifelong event. Well, I will help you find a good and auspicious day. It is working time now. Don't discuss it here. Come to my house to discuss it in the evening. Handa looked at the guests around him, saw their 8 trigrams eyes, and said. The redness and warmth on Calamus's face also disappeared, but the shyness was still there, and her heart felt sweet. I'm obviously very energetic at ordinary times, but why do I become so waxy when I meet Mr. Dragonfly? Understood. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly received the reply, and his teeth almost burst with laughter. Lifelong events, no suspense anymore. Go find your teammates quickly. Don't let Mr. Hokage see that you are not doing your job properly. Shoda hurriedly drove him away. It was strange for the guests to hear such talk. Hey. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly finished his ramen and walked out of the door. Heading towards the north. Don't be fooled. Exercise ground number 98. First, never act out of emotion. Second, never do anything harmful to the village. Third, never give up the belief in inheriting the will of fire. Yes, Captain. As soon as the flying bamboo dragonfly body arrived, I heard Shadow Clone using that middle secondary trick to inculcate ideas with the 3 little ones, and instantly the soles of their feet hit the ground. No, do I also have the idea of becoming a 2nd grader? Untie. The 3 Irakas were excited when the captain in front of them suddenly disappeared. This instantly chilled their blood. Shadow Clone? Ha, I forgot what Shadow Clone said just now. It was just a joke. The flying bamboo dragonfly came out of the darkness and smiled awkwardly. Hearing this, Irika puffed his lips and clenched his fists. How could you forget what the captain said, and this is definitely not a joke. We must keep these 3 sentences in mind. I think it is very good. Captain, we understand your determination to inherit the will of fire, and we also feel that you are the true heir to the will of fire. We are still far away, but don't underestimate our determination. Thorny Iron Wire and Mibu Shinobu also nodded in agreement. How could they not feel the captain's burning will of fire? 3rd Hokage-sama's will of fire course, their grades are excellent, why don't they understand the value of the captain's 3 sentences? That is the captain's summary. Although he is not as good as Master 3rd Hokage said, he is real and respects the captain even more. He is worthy of being a captain. Looking at Irika's expression and listening to his words, Feizuki could already imagine when he became a Jonin school teacher and Naruto went to school. Naruto, a guy who shouts loudly, may have one more catchphrase, and Sasuke, if he is also affected, it is hard to imagine whether Sasuke will shout. First, never act out of emotion. Second. He quickly shook his head to get rid of this idea, not wanting to think about this style of painting. Ahem, as long as you understand my will, Captain, please don't reveal these words. Next, I will teach you ninja things to improve your strength. Feiju Dragonfly quickly changed the subject, not wanting to discuss this with them anymore. It makes no sense for someone who could be forced to do a boring D-level mission for half a month by the will of fire and still not feel discouraged. I can only sigh that there is something special about 3rd generation. When they heard that the captain was going to teach something new, the 3 of them were distracted. Captain, what is it? You're kind of real genjutsu. In fact, they were also bored. They just felt that doing D-level tasks would help them understand the will of fire, so they persisted. In the past half month, you have accumulated a certain amount of mental energy. You have also had some practice in collecting ninja intelligence, and your patience has become better and better. In general, the quality of ninjas in all aspects has improved very quickly. But, in addition to the acquisition of intelligence and firm will, ninjas also need to improve their individual strength in order to play the role of intelligence. So, I have customized step-by-step training for you to become an excellent ninja. When the three of them heard the captain's approval, they felt that their hard work for half a month had finally paid off. The following words made them even happier. As for real Genjutsu, that's not what you little brats who have just entered the ninja gate can learn. Remember not to be too ambitious. Episode 26, Rebellious Asuma, Konoha. Exercise ground number 98. The three teenagers were sitting on the ground, with a leaf on their foreheads and tiger seals on their hands. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was reading a book beside him. A book called Barriers Ninjutsu Volume 7 was an indispensable part of learning Barriers Ninjutsu in Konoha. Learning is truly fascinating. Captain, can this really improve our strength? Irika tried hard to focus chakra on his forehead. Of course, an excellent ninja must be able to concentrate at all times so that he can discover the enemy's intentions from the smallest details in a lightning battle. Only then can chakra be mobilized immediately to complete the use of ninjutsu. The flying bamboo dragonfly keeps its eyes on the book, Kaido on one side. Hearing this, Shinobu Mibu said, I know, it's because Irika was not concentrating enough to fight the giant beast summoned by the captain before, so he couldn't find the pangolin that came out of the ground. No, I was careless. Irika curled his lips. Concentrate and don't talk. Mibu Shinobu is right. In fact, pangolins make a lot of noise when they walk through the ground. As long as you consciously pay attention to the enemies that may appear in the four directions above and below, you will be able to notice the movement under your feet. Ninjas must always be alert to new enemies that may appear, I think they were taught in school. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly affirmed Mibu Ren's words. Furthermore, third generation said that wherever the leaves are flying, fire is constantly growing. Concentrating chakra on the leaves instantly means that you have ignited the initial flame. This is the time to practice your will of fire. Hearing this, the three of them immediately got excited and worked hard to do what the captain said and concentrate the chakra on the leaves on their foreheads. It's really easy to use, will of fire. Looking at the three people working hard, Feizukingin couldn't help but sigh at the brilliance of third generation. The method he had thought hard about to lure the three of them to work in the direction they wanted was no better than the will of fire. In this regard, he is not as good as third generation. He admits that third generation is the strongest mouth escape, and Naruto is not as good either. Then his eyes fell on the barriers manual in his hand, which explained various matters about barriers. It is described in detail from various aspects, such as seals, chakra distribution, and barriers nodes. He is confident that when the plot begins, he will be one of the best ninjas in the ninja world, but there is no guarantee that Konoha will not be destroyed. There is no guarantee that Pain will be prevented from using his ultimate move before it is activated. So he wanted to find a new way from the barrier's side to prevent Konoha from being destroyed by Pain's ultimate move. Barrier's technique can definitely be done in this regard. Now he has completely finished the first 6 volumes of the barrier's manual. Although there are more than a dozen volumes behind it, he is confident to finish it. Then start experimenting with various deployments of the barrier's technique. These are just in case. Maybe I will be invincible by then? This is the idea of Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. He implemented the concept of being a ninja just in case. Looking at the three little ones again, I found that they had entered the state, but in perception, they were still too slow to concentrate. At the same time, they also noticed that every time a breeze blew from the outside world, it would divert their attention a little bit. Try Barriers Ninjutsu. Feeling interested, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was ready to test out his ideas, based on the barriers theory he had just seen. He took out a few forbidden characters from his ninja tool bag, threw them on the tree trunks on all sides of the training ground, and began to form seals with his hands. Barriers Ninjutsu is so complicated that even today's Flying Bamboo Dragonfly takes a minute to complete. This is the most complicated seal he has ever made since time travel. Quiet barriers. As he completed the seals, the 4 directions of forbidden talismans were connected with the chakra, turning into an invisible cover that enveloped the entire training ground. The 3 people inside who were trying to concentrate suddenly felt that the environment was different. There was no more noise from the wind, no more cicadas, and no more birds chirping. Refining chakra and concentrating chakra has become faster. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly also carefully felt the advantages and disadvantages of Barriers Ninjutsu. The advantage is that barriers can be completed by multiple people and has many functions. The disadvantage is that it consumes a lot of money and requires continuous delivery of chakra. Can only be used in traps or positional battles. It's just that the original work didn't go into too much detail about Barriers Ninjutsu. There were only scenes where rebel ninjas often broke through, which made barriers ninjutsu a bit embarrassing. But judging from this forbidden sound barrier, it is really good in some aspects. In a blink of an eye. Another month has passed. With the blessing of the new technique, the three little ones made rapid progress and it was easier to concentrate. When they reached a certain point, Phaseu Dragonfly removed barriers and allowed them to improve step by step. Now I can concentrate quickly during the competition, whether it is performing ninjutsu, throwing shuriken, or analyzing the field. I have made great progress. In addition to work, Phaseu Dragonfly also discussed with Shandai and Changpu about the time for marriage, 2 years later. Married when I was 17. For a person like Ninja who has twice as many cells as his previous life, it is not considered an early marriage. So he is in a very good mood every day. Even Irika and the other three could sense the happiness on his face. When they learned that the captain had a fiancé, everyone was shocked. Can't believe it. But you can't believe it. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly took them to eat ramen and looked at their tired look. Can you not believe it? On this day, Hokage sent an order, asking him to lead the team to Hokage's office for a mission. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly and 3 little Irikas stood seriously in front of third generation. After not seeing each other for a while, he had become much older. Third Hokage-sama. Irika was very happy to see the third generation. Hiruzen Sarutobi saw Irika and smiled. It's Irika. Looking at the report card given by Dragonfly, I heard that you are already an excellent genin. Hearing this, Irika glanced at Flying Bamboo Dragonfly and said excitedly, it's still far behind the captain. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded kindly and looked at Faiza Kingyu. I've given you an important task. You must help me complete it. I? Phaseu Dragonfly was confused, but still said, I promise to complete the task. Hiruzen Sarutobi sighed, the mission is to find Asuma Sarutobi and hand over the information. It would be better if we could convince him. Eh? Sarutobi Asuma? Everyone in the Dragonfly team was confused. Does the surname Sarutobi have anything to do with Lord Hokage? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was stunned. This period of time was the time for him to rebel and escape from Konoha. He is my husband's son. Due to work reasons, he was not properly educated, which led to his becoming more and more rebellious. Recently, he took advantage of the opportunity of going out on a mission to disappear without a trace. But someone from the Fire Nation has seen him, so I need to find his location. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. I see. Episode 27, a sudden glimpse of the outliner, Konoha Gate. The 3 of Irika were carrying backpacks and were already waiting for the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. Finally, the official mission has begun. Let me finish it in one day, Irika was full of confidence. Isn't it just to find someone? After doing the mission for such a long time, Irika is extremely confident in tracking cats and dogs. The same goes for Mibu Shinobi and Thorny Iron Wire. They were previously deceived by the Will of Fire and were very enthusiastic about D-level missions, but they still had expectations for high-level missions. This mission to find people and collect intelligence was rated B-level because it involved ninjas. So full of motivation. Why hasn't the captain come yet? We have been ready for so long. Sorry, I wasted a little time saying hello to my fiancé. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly appeared behind them at some point. Bang! The sudden sound made the 3 people's hearts skip a beat. He breathed a sigh of relief when he heard the captain's voice. Irika patted his chest, my captain, if you scare someone, you will scare them to death. Also, captain, why did your girlfriend become your fiancé? We've agreed on a wedding date, and we're going to drink the captain's wedding bar, hee. Fei Bamboo Dragonfly showed off. How many people in Konoha will have no wives in the future, except for the hard pairing of the 12 strong ones? Kakashi's current generation only has Kurenai and Asuma, Moonlight Hayate and Yuzuki Yugogo. Now he is one step ahead, so he can taunt them when the time comes. Also, ninjas should always pay attention to the surrounding environment, pay attention to what is the rest time, and what is the time to enter the state. You can't always be tense, otherwise you'll be traumatized. You cannot relax your vigilance, because there may be enemies at any time. Finally, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly Education Road. This is practical information, essential information for ninja survival, which he summarized after reading so many ninja memories and his own experiences. Yes, Captain. What Flying Bamboo Dragonfly said made sense, but they refused to accept it. How could people always be vigilant? No matter how great a ninja was, they couldn't do that. Come on, let's go to Rukongai, the country of fire. Whoosh! 4 figures advanced in a cone formation in the forest. According to Hokage-sama's information, Asuma appeared in Rukongai 2 days ago, but it was just a flash in the pan. We will collect information immediately after arriving at the destination, do you understand? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly ordered the team. In Konoha, he is a teacher, and outside of Konoha, he is the team leader, and he cannot slack off. Yes, Captain. Flying bamboo dragonfly's serious expression infected the three of them, and their expressions changed from happy to serious. Phew. Flying bamboo dragonfly's perception fell on several people from time to time, and he found that the technique of attaching chakra to the feet had lived up to his teachings, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. The improvement of concentration is indeed very useful for controlling chakra. In this month, the three of them can not only concentrate their attention at any time, but also be able to judge the surrounding environment and situation and refine chakra to counterattack in a short period of time. As for the skill of climbing trees and treading water, I also mastered it in a few days, and now I can use it on the road. Half a day later, the four of them landed in Hokage, which was actually a town and quite lively. After finding a hotel as a meeting point, the four of them spread out and began to collect intelligence. Feiju Dragonfly walked alone on the street, observing everything around him. His powerful brain and profound knowledge allowed him to record everything he perceived in his brain. Here comes the advantage of the perceptive ninja. Within a few kilometers, not many things can escape his sight. His mind-reading experience from the battlefield to the present allows him to process this information as easily as picking out a bird's egg. Asuma, judging from what third generation said, it seems that she wants to go out and find the jade in her heart, that's what she said. According to the original work, it seems that before returning to Konoha, Asuma served as the guardian of the 12 ninjas until he found the jade in his heart. Can I wait for him in the capital of the Land of Fire? Various information about Hokage flashed through my mind, including the beauties in the hot spring shop, the money exchange underneath, the big-breasted women in the casino, etc. After sensing it carefully, a huge chakra reaction came into her mind, and there was a smaller chakra reaction next to her. It can't be such a coincidence, right? Flying bamboo dragonfly sighed in his heart that the world is so small. Although he didn't want to believe it, that was indeed the dream goddess Tsunade of countless Hokage fans. A gambler in Konoha's pornographic gambling scene. But what does it have to do with him? He already had a goddess, and after sensing it for a moment, he turned his attention away. Just keep the information in mind. All information from the outside world may be useful. The perception is placed on the three little ones. He was working hard and seemed to be constantly asking for information about Asuma. Irika went to the hotel to inquire, and Mibu Shinobu went to the hot spring shop to inquire. Thorny Taisien is a bit smarter. He went to a sausage shop and a noodle shop. These two pieces of information pointed out Asuma's preferences. And he already knew that Asuma would definitely go to the capital of the Kingdom of Fire. With nothing to do, he returned to the hotel, picked up a notebook, and leisurely drew and wrote in it. Final thoughts on the Genjutsu series. First, historical rewriting involves inserting a period of history into the enemy's memory and inserting one's own existence into the enemy's history, thereby changing the enemy's perception of itself. Second, Hyoka-Suigetsu and Genjutsu control the enemy's form, touch, shape, and 5 senses to achieve true deception. The third, the finishing touch, is developed on the basis of secret techniques, and uses the ability of style to create things out of nothing, to deceive the world, deceive oneself, and achieve the path of Genjutsu to control the weather of the world. During the period of teaching Irika's three little ones, he learned more than just barriers. Genjutsu was always what he studied the most. The 3 ultimate series of Genjutsu are the 3 ultimate Genjutsu that he came up with after exploring Genjutsu in the past 2 years. It's just that they are very difficult, and each one may be a 10-year series, so he has to make a choice. At the same time, don't miss any time for research. The research time passed quickly, and the sky quickly darkened. When I sensed the return of the 3 little ones, I also put away my notes. Boom. Come in. I'm so tired. I didn't expect that finding people would be so much harder than finding cats and dogs. The 3 of them walked in panting. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly said, "How?" Irika said dejectedly, "There is no clue, it's like he didn't appear in Hokage at all." Mibu Shinobu, "I haven't collected any information on Asuma-senpai either." Thorny Taisien smiled and said, "Senior Asuma did show up 2 days ago and ate a lot of sausages at the sausage shop. But there was no news about him later." The other 2 people looked at him in surprise. They didn't expect that there was really information. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly praised, "Taisien did a good job. You too, I hope you can learn intelligence analysis from Taisien." He was indeed praising him. Regardless of the small details of analyzing his hobbies, it might be the watershed between Chunin and Jonin. Irika looked dissatisfied. "Damn it, I made you famous once, I will definitely not lose next time." "What about you, Captain? What information has been collected?" After the 3 people finished telling their information, they looked at Feiju Dragonfly at the same time. Episode 28, Earth and Continent, Hokage, Hotel. According to the intelligence, Asuma should gradually come to the capital of the country of fire based on this line, and will stay here for a while. Facing the questions from his subordinates, Feiju Dragonfly was well prepared and took out a map of the Kingdom of Fire. On it, a winding line was drawn between Hokage and the capital of the Fire Nation. The three Iroquois looked at it very seriously. As expected of the captain, they just concluded that Asuma-senpai had indeed been active here. The captain had already figured out Asuma-senpai's final location. Thorny Iron Wire was more perceptive than his two teammates. Why did the captain come to the conclusion that Asuma-senpai would go to the capital of the Land of Fire? Everyone's information is the same, since the captain can analyze it, Asuma-senpai's route. So there is a lot to learn from this. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly finally waited until they asked, and said with a smile, "First, no matter what kind of intelligent life it is, when it takes action, it must have a purpose." The three little ones only approved. Second, according to the information given by Lord Third Generation, Asuma is looking for the jade in his heart. Let me explain this to you. The jade in everyone's heart is different. For example, Captain, my jade is my village, my father, my fiancé, and my companion. Asuma has no jade in her heart, so she is looking for it. The same goes for you. Don't think that your jade is from the village or your parents. It is a feeling. When you find it, you will not be confused about why it is jade. Now you probably don't. The three little ones nodded again in approval. Third, based on human psychology, as well as the known information from the previous two, and delineating the scope of his actions in the country of fire, he will inevitably use the mass effect in psychology. When a person is confused, he will walk towards crowded places and away from Konoha, because the third generation said that Asuma is more rebellious, which means that he had a quarrel with the third generation. In other words, if you run away from home after a quarrel, you will subconsciously stay away from the place where your family is? Jixia Taixian said. Yes, Taixian is right. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was very satisfied. According to mathematical probability, Asuma has an 85.6% chance of taking this route. Isn't it 100%? And why is it 85.6%? Iroka yelled. It's just most likely, you know? When the target is not determined, we must learn to use the known information and go in the most likely direction. Okay, the simple analysis is over. After you go back, you should also review it and try to make sure that I don't do the analysis for you next time. The three little ones kept nodding, indicating that they had really learned it. It turns out that the mathematics and psychology taught in school are also so useful. They felt that Feiju and Dragonfly's knowledge was so profound. With excitement, the three of them returned to their rooms and kept reviewing Fei Bamboo Dragonfly's words. They wanted to be like him and analyze a lot of information from a little bit of information. Captain is so awesome. Iroka was lying on the bed, admiring the flying bamboo dragonfly. He admired this powerful analytical ability and profound knowledge. I have decided that I will become a man like the captain in the future. Rukongai Gate. Next stop, let's go. The four of them hit the road again, having fun and learning along the way. Because they knew Asuma's possible route, their purpose was very clear. Every time they arrived in a town, Feiju Dragonfly would ask the three of them to investigate for information. Validate his idea. Every time they come back from intelligence investigation, Fei Zukingfeng will teach them how to analyze intelligence and teach them step by step. And more intelligence also showed that Fei Zukingfeng's analysis was correct, and Asuma was indeed traveling according to the route he analyzed. This made the three Iroquois in the team admire them even more. Study harder and harder. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly looked at the three people who were getting closer and closer, with a smile on his lips. These three guys won't all become Konoha Jonin in the future, right? His purpose this time is mainly to train the three people's abilities, whether it is intelligence analysis or physical chakra control, to lay a solid foundation in this mission. As for Asuma's mission, he is not the only team looking for it. He doesn't believe that third generation didn't send Ambu spies to find it. And looking from the future, Asuma finally returned safely and learned the secret technique of the fire temple. So he is not in a hurry. If all three of them can become Jonin, they will have a solid fighting force against Akatsuki. The more powerful people there are, the safer he is. The family members are also safer. Ahem. Jade, what exactly is my jade? In a Tonzi City izakaya, Asuma, a young man with an oval face, smoked a cigarette and choked on the cigarette from time to time. His eyes were full of confusion. Hey, kid, I'm drinking alone. Do you want to drink some with me? Several people in white suits with sinister faces looked at Asuma with evil intentions. Go away, don't disturb me. Asuma looked at a few people, put down his cigarette, and yelled at them. Several people in white suits looked at each other and took out several watermelon knives, iron rods, and hammer balls from behind. Boy, please buy us a drink, and we will forgive your disrespect, otherwise, we will make you look good. The leading man in a suit said with a sinister face. A finger knife appeared on Asuma's hand, and she was not going to talk nonsense to them. At another table in the izakaya, a young monk saw this scene and left the table and walked slowly towards the side. Donor, can you please let this benefactor go for the sake of this poor monk? The monk smiled at them. At first, the white suit wanted to throw it away with a stick, but when he saw the clothes on his body, he immediately stopped. After looking at each other, the leader looked at Asuma fiercely. You are lucky to have met the Lord of the Fire Temple. Then he led the boys and disappeared into the izakaya. Seeing this, Asuma put away the weapon in his hand. Thank you. You're welcome. I think it will be extremely easy for you to deal with them. The young monk smiled. My name is Dilu, what's yours? Asuma. It seems that the donor is very worried, doesn't he? Well, you are a monk, let me ask you a question, what is jade? Asuma looked at Dilu with confusion in his eyes and asked. Jade, I don't know, but I know that if you don't do anything, you won't be able to find it. Dilu said with a smile. But my master said that if you are confused, go through it and go for it. You will find it one day. Asuma was stunned when he heard this. This time he left Konoha and left his home in a hurry. He really thought about going out or something, but he just wanted to go to a place with many people. Chiriku's words reminded him, and the Fire Temple was another important institution in the country of fire besides Konoha. Maybe he will know better. Any introduction? Asuma suddenly had an idea and asked Dilu. Dilu smiled and said, You are a ninja, right? I am going to the capital this time to join the guards of the 12 ninjas and protect the daimyo. Do you want to consider it? As for whether he might be a spy, as long as he can pass the Fire Nation's investigation. Episode 29, Asuma, whoosh. Clang. In the forest, shurikens and kunai clashed. Puff. Several figures were entangled together, two of them were Asuma and Dilu. Jilu, Sarutobi Asuma, I said, is this the enemy you attracted? Asuma pointed his knife to block the shuriken attack and said to Jilu behind him. Clang. A steady stream of attacks from outside were coming, leaving them overwhelmed. Jilu chakra transformed into a Senju Bodhisattva and blocked the incoming attacks one by one. Sorry, I forgot to mention that as a monk sent by the Fire Temple to the capital to protect shinobi, he will be targeted by all forces. Whether you want to intercept me, assassinate the daimyo in my place, or you have an ulterior motive, this trip will not go well. Fire-style ash accumulation. Facing the enemy's offensive, Asuma's seal sprayed out a large amount of grey mist, overwhelmingly attacking the enemy. Several ninjas from unknown forces turned pale with horror at this blow, their eyes filled with fear. Bang! After the grey smoke comes the explosion. The screams of several people caused the other attacking ninjas to pause for a moment. Taking this opportunity, Asuma used all his strength to defeat the remaining enemies with Jilu. It seems that the guardian of the 12 forbearances is hard to do. Asuma wiped away the cold sweat. Thank you, sorry for bothering you. Dilu said with a smile. Who are these guys? Asuma looked at the corpses on the ground. After checking, he did not get any specific information. Except for the commonly used ninja tools, there is nothing related to identity. Since you dare to assassinate people from the Fire Temple, you will naturally not leave any clues. You can't find them. Dilu said. That's not necessarily the case. Suddenly, a voice sounded, and the two of them instantly looked solemn and entered a fighting state, looking for the voice at the same time. 4 figures appeared in front of them. The leader was a man with a bandage on his face, and all 4 of them wore Konoha forehead protectors. Asuma's face froze when he saw this. That old man still wants to control me? Hi, long time no see, don't you recognize me, Asuma? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly waved his hand and said with a smile. Hearing this, Asuma focused on him, with his slender figure and bandaged head, thinking hard. After hard work, he finally found an inconspicuous figure before he graduated at the age of 9. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly? He asked uncertainly. Dilu was listening to the conversation between the two. It turned out that they were acquaintances, and he felt relieved. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly pretended to be sad and covered her heart. Oh my god, we have been classmates for 3 years and have warned you. You are still not sure. It's so sad. Then he turned to the 3 little ones and said, don't be like him at all. You can't even remember the names of your companions. That's really rude. The 3 little ones didn't dare to be careless after hearing this. Senior Asuma was still in front. Isn't it a good idea to tease him like this? Hey, why are you here? Did the old man from 3rd generation ask you to come to me? Although Asuma blushed a little, she still asked the topic of concern. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, hey, that's so rude. That's your dad. How can you call him an old man? After teasing, he said seriously, yes, Lord Third Hokage, let us see what you have done outside. If you can, come back with us. If you want to take me back, you have to break my limbs and drag me back. Asuma put on a fighting stance, focusing all his attention on the four of them, ready to fight at any time. Dilu was very loyal and stood side by side with him. Although I don't know what happened, if you want to fight, count me in. Seeing the two of them looking like they were about to fight, Feizukinging was helpless. The three little ones also looked at him, ready to see what the captain would do. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was speechless when he heard the words, and spread his hands. Did you see, this is a guy without the will of fire, he actually wants to take action against his companions in the village, you don't want to imitate him. This is Hokage-sama's fault. When you become captain in the future, you must educate your subordinates. The three little ones thought about it seriously and nodded in agreement. They were indeed the captain, always carrying out the will of fire. Asuma frowned. What's the meaning? Does it mean that his old man's education failed? Although he had a dispute with the old man, he did not allow the old man to be said like this by others. You're just a captain, what qualifications do you have to say Hokage? Asuma snorted and asked. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly twitched the corner of his mouth. Just because of your existence, Asuma, who is rude and willful, you gave me the qualifications. Whispering sound. These words made Asuma furious. He was young and energetic and didn't care about anything else. Now he just wanted to teach the guy in front of him a lesson. Whoosh. You all stand aside and watch. Let me give you a combat lesson, Captain. By the way, move those corpses away. They will be useful later. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly said to the three little ones calmly. Then he looked at Asuma who was rushing over. Clang. The kunai and the finger knife collided, and the two looked at each other closely. Hey, he is indeed the son of Hokage. Has the wind attribute changed to this extent? Flying Bamboo Dragonfly looked at the kunai that was slowly divided by the sharp chakra in his hand, and joked. Konoha Danchenglong. He kicked his right foot out among the lightning and flints, and kept Asuma alert. He raised his head hard and let the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly's foot brush against his chin. The leaves were split. After the second transformation, Asuma interrupted the idea of cutting off his weapon and held the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly's legs with both hands. Damn, this guy's physical skills are so powerful. The more Asuma fought, the more frightened he became. Every move of Flying Bamboo Dragonfly was a common taijutsu in Konoha, but every blow was like an antelope hanging its horns, nowhere to be found. The physical skills that he was proud of disappeared completely in front of Feiju and Dragonfly. And the three little ones, after hearing Fei Bamboo Dragonfly's instructions, carried the body outside the battlefield with Dilu's puzzled eyes. Looking at both sides of the battle, as well as the captain who completely suppressed Asuma-senpai with his physical skills, the mouths of the three of them all formed an O shape. Dilu's heart froze when he saw it. What a terrifying physical skill. He actually used physical skills to suppress the powerful Asuma like this. You must know that after getting along with each other in the past few days, coupled with the assassinations of enemies from time to time, he recognized Asuma's strength. Especially physical training. Who is it? Fire style, ashes burn. Seeing that Asuma was not good at physical skills, he used a few shurikens to restrain the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly, and then a puff of smoke came out. He was anxious. This is the first time I have been suppressed like this by my peers. The Feiju Dragonfly was able to do it with ease, and this battle also felt refreshing, as if all the muscles and bones in the body were relaxed. Facing Fire Style's attack, he also formed seals with his hands. Water Style, water barrier. He did not forget to explain to the three little ones, look carefully, in the face of Fire Style's attack, restraining its water style is the best way to fight back. Boom. Asuma's ash accumulation had no effect on the water barrier, and the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly easily blocked it. After Asuma heard what he said, he was even more angry, and his face turned red and warm with the young man's anger. Episode 30, The Art of Seeing Naraku Change. Don't underestimate me, asshole. Asuma was completely angered by the dismissive behavior of Flying Bamboo Dragonfly's battlefield commentary. He stepped back slightly, took out the Fuma Shuriken from his ninja bag, and formed a seal with both hands the moment he threw it out. Swish, brush, brush. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. The overwhelming giant shurikens were overwhelmingly covering the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. But the moment he released ninjutsu, he regretted it. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly is a member of the village, not an enemy. This is a bit too much. Just when he hoped that the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly would not be too inexperienced to avoid death. Suddenly, he saw the Flying Bamboo Dragonfly smiling at him. This made him stunned. In the face of such an attack, you were still in the mood to laugh. Asuma was very angry. How could such an old man let him lead the team? Bang! Just when he doubted the third generation's vision, a huge pangolin emerged from the ground. Facing numerous Fuma shurikens, its entire body blocked the flying bamboo dragonfly. Puff puff puff. Buzz. The pangolin was penetrated by the Fuma shuriken, and subsequent shuriken attacks continued. Asuma, you are indeed the son of Lord Third Hokage. It seems you are just rude. But I still have some strength. The laughter of the flying bamboo dragonfly rang out, and a dragonfly flew into the sky behind the pangolin. Dodged his attack. And praised him with his mouth. Hey, a psychic beast? No, that's not right. Asuma's pupils shrank at first, and then she discovered that there was no body of the pangolin. With sharp eyes, he also saw the pangolin figure falling to the ground. Is this a secret technique? Don't be stunned when fighting, I'm going to fight. Flying bamboo dragonfly said loudly. Asuma looked up after hearing this, and what caught his eyes was a watch swinging from side to side in his hand. All of a sudden, he just felt like his mind was spinning, and he came to a world full of asparagus. And he stuffed it into his mouth uncontrollably. It tastes terrible. Asuma immediately realized that he had been hit by a genjutsu. Want to vomit? Untie. Immediately stop refining chakra, and at the moment of complete stop, the chakra will explode, flushing away the chakra interference entering the body. Wait until he opens his eyes. It has been pinched in the hand of a huge dragonfly. Flying bamboo dragonfly is smiling, the same special jonin, Asuma is still far behind. It was solved so easily. Although there is information first. Irika, Iron Wire, Mibu Shinobi, remember, the enemy will not remind you that he is going to attack you. So when encountering this kind of situation, you must quickly analyze what type of ninja the enemy is. And make judgments to analyze how to respond, he continued to teach the three little ones. Asuma looked angry. He had only left Konoha for a few days and was going to be captured? Sudden. He felt the hand holding him loosen and he fell down. Vomit. Just as he landed, the taste of asparagus flooded into his mouth again, making him want to vomit. Damn it, isn't Genjutsu unlocked? He hates the taste of asparagus. And why did he let himself go? Doubts arose in Asuma's mind. How about, my Naraku no Jutsu Kai, let the enemy eat the food he hates the most? Different from the original version, Genjutsu only induces scenes of fear, the new version only focuses on eating. Although the target area is a bit narrow, it is still very effective. Flying bamboo dragonfly unlocked the secret technique on the dragonfly, put away the dragonfly figure, and asked Asuma. That's awesome, Captain. The three Irikas came to him and respected his methods. This is the first time they see their captain fighting. Moreover, his opponent was a senior like Asuma, and he defeated him overwhelmingly. Asuma's eyes were complicated. This guy obviously graduated later than him, so how could he be defeated so easily? Why did you let me go? Weren't you afraid that I would run away? Although you are strong enough, if I want to leave, you can't keep me. Jilu also came to him quietly. If Asuma didn't want to follow the people of Konoha, he could delay it for a while. Considering that everyone is an organization of the country of fire, the other party should not embarrass him. Feiju Dragonfly heard this and smiled. Haha, who do you think you are, just a rebellious teenager? So what if I take you back to Konoha? It will have no effect on Konoha at all. And my mission is just to take back your information. Master Third Hokage didn't say that he would take you back, but that it would be best to convince you. Asuma was angry at first, then silent, and finally his eyes were firm. Okay, I won't try to convince you. I can tell by the look in your eyes that it's impossible, but I will still report your information to Lord Hokage truthfully. The way Flying Bamboo Dragonfly looked at him, he had an excuse, because he didn't want to change Asuma's fate. He is just a wage earner, helping third generation educate his son, which is not part of his mission. Asuma was stunned and looked at him deeply. I see, it seems we don't need to fight. Dilu tried to smooth things over after hearing this. Vomit. Asuma vomited again, and he looked at Flying Bamboo Dragonfly. Quickly untie me Genjutsu. The smell is so unpleasant. Flying Bamboo Dragonfly spread his hands and said, I'm sorry, that's just the residual heat after Genjutsu. As long as you are infected for a moment, the taste will remain warm in your mouth for a long time. This Genjutsu is like feeding you the most disgusting food. Removing Genjutsu is just equivalent to swallowing it. The taste will still remain in your mouth until your body digests it. He also laughed as he said this. He really couldn't understand this. The only way to solve it was to suppress or remove his sense of taste. Asuma's eyes widened. Solution. No. Any more? How long will he carry the smell with him? Suddenly, I felt like I wanted to die. You are very good. I will remember you. I will make you look good next time I see you. Asuma looked at him deeply and remembered all the details of today's battle. Just waiting for a chance to teach him a lesson. Humph, are you going to follow the master of the Temple of Fire? Then let me help you again, Flying Bamboo Dragonfly said to the two of them. Then he came to the bodies of those enemies and formed seals with his hands. Press against the nerve center at the temple. The smell of long-lost memories came back into Fei Ziking's mind. Asuma and Dilu were confused and looked at the three little ones. What is he doing? Irika heard this and said proudly, the captain is the elite of the analysis class, so he is using the art of mind reading. Thorny Iron Wire, the captain said that all information must be hidden as much as possible to be a qualified ninja. If you reveal the captain's information like this, you will be in trouble later. Miburin guessed, the technique the captain just developed seems not to be aimed at the enemy, but at one's own people. Maybe it will be used on you. Irika thought about what the captain said, that Genjutsu would make him eat the most unpleasant and unpleasant food. A little cold sweat fell from his forehead. Not, right? He looked at Asuma and immediately shut up. Because Asuma still smelled disgusting, the most unpleasant taste must still be in her mouth. He didn't want to try the captain's ability.